Okay, welcome to part two. I actually have a little bit more of a plan this time. So I've kind of broken this task up into 7 hours. I think 7 hours worth of work to get this working beginning to end and launched on the web. I think it's still optimistic, but let's go through it. So in the first one, we built a basic app frame for our app. And let's just do a quick refresh on what the app is. So I am working on a database browser. What it'll allow you to do is connect to a database, and so you'll add your connection details here, what your database is called, the connection string URL, all that stuff. It'll connect to your database, and then it will allow you to type into a chat box with an LLM to generate queries that you can execute against your database. So just as an example, I can say something like, show me all of my users. And it'll send back a query based on that. It'll pre-fill it in this SQL query um, input window. You can hit run. It'll run it against your database, and it'll work. It'll work great. So right now, anything that's happening here is all just hard coded. So we have just like some sample prompts that come back based on what you prompt the LLM with. So none of this works. You can't connect to a database yet. So what I have it broken up into is hour one, which we've done, is the basic desktop app frame, which is what you see here, running inside Electron. We've got our dev tools here so we can inspect things and debug and stuff like that. Hour two, which is what this video will be, is connecting to our database and running a query. So once we get that working, that'll be it for this part. We'll follow up with connecting to an LLM to actually generate the queries and to send prompts. The next hour will be storing our chat history and context about our database, the schema, and things like that. Hour five is writing to database and doing bug fixes. So we'll start off with just doing read queries, so reading from the database, but eventually we'll want to write. And with, this is just SQL, so we can execute any statement, but it would be nice to have like the table of data printed out that you can scroll and look through, and then have that data actually be editable in place. Hour six or hour seven, we may swap these, but is implementing Stripe for payments and creating a landing page for the app so people can go and buy a subscription, read about the product, download it, email support, bug fix stuff. So, okay, so right now, let's get started with connecting to a database and running a query. So, one thing I want to do before we add any code is download a sample database. So I'm pretty sure I can just find like Postgres sample database. Let's look at Stack Overflow so we can somewhat trust the result. Okay, PG Foundry project that contains several example Postgres databases. Most of these haven't been updated for a while, but we'll still work with recent Postgres versions. If you need a bigger database, the MusicBrainz music database has full database dumps available. Open source Shakespeare. This could be interesting. Collection of Shakespeare's complete works. This project adapts its data for the open source relation. I kind of like this. It'd be more fun to work with something like this than just like a customer database or something like that. Let's do this. Let's use this and okay, yeah. So I'm going to download this. Let's just go to my root directory here, and we need to, been a while since I've used Postgres, but I think I need to run Postgres locally, brew, install, make sure I have it installed. So I'm going to install Postgres. I thought I already had it, but it just may not be running. Okay, I think it just updated Postgres. So brew services start PG. Okay, let's ask Cursor how to get it up and running. I want to let's send this link. I want to use this database as sample data for us to connect and query to. Walk me through setting up Postgres with Homebrew and downloading this database. All right. Not perfectly worded, but doesn't need to be. All right, it's not PG, it's PostgreSQL 15. All right. New computer problems. It's riveting content here. Let's just go ahead and say, okay, that's done. What's next? I don't know why I didn't just run this in Cursor's console, but old habits. Really needs all of this to install one package. Seems to be stalling out on Python. All right, I'm gonna restart this. This seems to be failing. Okay, it's already installed. Okay. All right, we're gonna start it up. All right, we are up and running. Okay, that's done. We will create our database. Check. Okay, done. Should have just run this from the cursor built-in console, but whatever. And then we'll install it with this command. And that's done. All right. Okay, how do I connect to it from the command line and explore the schema? Let's do this one in the built-in terminal. All right, pSQL Shakespeare. And then if I remember correctly, you just do like describe. It doesn't look like there's any relations, which is strange. Okay. Let's skip that. When I run \d, it says there are no relations. Okay, I feel like I ran this, but I'm just going to run it from here. Let's exit. Try that curl again. Okay. I think that just put this in my project directory, but that's fine. Okay, yeah, this is what we were missing. Boom, there we go. All right. Let's quit that and connect to it again. DT. Well, still says no relations. Strange. Probably something obvious, but oh, of course. Okay, it seems like the database is there. That seems correct. Let's see. Only in 2025 can a bunch of trend-chasing clowns take AI coding, a totally clear and understood term, and rename it vibe coding. So it plays better on YouTube. Thank you. All right. Okay, I think we're good. So we're connected. And hop back in here. If you read the description too, it doesn't say, it says it's not vibe coding, okay? All right. All right, so we're in. We've got a database. We've got a basic database structure. I kind of feel like I need a like a secondary tool to query against this, but we can just do, let's see. Okay, let's see if this works. Shakespeare dot star. Okay. View tables across all schema. So let's write just a quick sample query. So let's just do like select all from chapter limit 10. I think I have to do Shakespeare dot chapter. Write a query that will select the first 10 rows from chapter. All right. I feel like that's what I wrote. Maybe I was missing the semicolon. Okay. So we've got, trying to understand this data from the sample database. It looks like these are the different works: Twelfth Night, Taming of the Shrew, Henry V. They've got IDs, and these are just like chapters and a description of the chapter. So I think this is a good starting place. Let's get back into setting up our connection. So let's just get a reminder of what the UI looks like, which is not running any longer. Okay, I think it was npm run dev. All right, so let's talk this through real quick. We are going to want, when we click this button, we'll want some sort of modal that pops up and allows us to enter connection details for this database. So I think that's enough to prompt with. let's just go ahead and say, let's start a new chat since we've got that working. Okay, let's first of all go into our renderer process. And let's attach some of these as context. And I think this should be good. Okay, let's, before we do this, I don't want this to get out of hand. Let's turn this connections and new connection button into a component called connections so we don't, this is our main app file. We don't want to pollute this with a bunch of like business logic. So let's move the connection code in app.tsx into a dedicated component file called connections.tsx. That'll just keep us from turning this into a big mess. All right, now we'll put that in app. Cool, so UI should look the same. All right, we've got that. Now we have this all isolated so it doesn't get too messy. Let's okay, let's have the new connection button open a modal where we'll enter database connection details. All right, so we have, let's see. So it looks like it put the modal inside of this component, which I guess is okay for now. Now, actually, let's separate the modal from the connections component to keep things clean. All right. There we go. That's better. So in here, we've just got basic labels and inputs to enter the connection details. Okay. And then in our connection component, we're importing that. And when you click add new connection, it should pop that up. So should be good. Let's try it out. There we go. All right. So name, host, port, database name, username, password. So this looks good. A lot of these will allow you to just enter a connection string, which has all of this encoded into a URL, and you can hit connect and it'll do the same thing. This is fine for now. So I think we're good to start wiring this up to the main process, which will actually handle the connection. Okay, let's wire this form up to the, let's see, let's review what this looks like. We have the initialize handlers and connect. So here's the connection. but then it should be sending some, um, not this one. It should send some messages over to, oh yeah, these are them. So when we fire this, it'll send the configuration and then connect. Based on the type of database, it will send the connection details, hit that middleware, and then connect. So let's attach this to context and our connection. Let's see. Okay, let's wire up this form. Form and the connection component to the database index file handlers in the main process. I'm probably being too verbose here, so we can connect. Cursor has enough context on this that it'll just kind of do it if I say let's wire it up to the database. Okay, so it looks like it created, so yeah, this is just going to be like a sort of glue between our renderer process and the main process. So it's going to just fire these methods with the config that comes back from the form, the input form. This looks good. Database type selector. Yeah, so we need to add the type here in our modal. What do you use to load balance the API? Assuming this isn't another bot commenting. I think at this point, uh, the client will allow the user to use their own like Open API login. So I won't actually be handling like routing the LLM like to like my own LLM API. Potentially I will, but there'll probably be some like proxy server that has a load balancer on it. It's a good question. Okay, where are we at? All right, our connection modal now, it looks like it defaults to Postgres, which is fine for now. And then we'll set some default ports. I guess we'd want to make this editable too. It'll have to be editable, but for now we're fine with that. Okay, let's check this out. And then in connection, okay, it's just updating the connection for this new types of data. What AI am I using? Right now, if you're talking about what's in Cursor, it's Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And then for the app itself, I think it would be nice to be able to choose from some of these. So like you might want to choose between Sonnet, Gemini, ChatGPT. We'll probably just start off with a couple different options. But as I was saying before, I think it would be nice if you wanted like a free tier for this product, you could just add your own like login to OpenAI through the app. So that way I wouldn't be handling it, like at least in that tier, I wouldn't be handling any kind of like AI API. All right, let's check out the client. Let's see. Our client crashed. Cool. All right, let's see what's going on. Dir name is not defined. Electron index.js. So Where are we specifying dir name? I think what happened is we made changes to um, the main process. Oh, did this crash? Okay. Port 3000 is already in use. Let's see. A lot of traffic, yeah. That's a good problem to have. And it's kind of one that like you could potentially solve when you get there. But yeah, load balancing is, in all honesty, this would probably be fine running against just um, one node, one process. And if I needed to, you could, have a couple different processes running. Those are things that I've set up like a handful of times in my career, and it's always one of those things you just kind of relearn it when you do it. But yeah, good question. All right, I'm trying to close out. I have a million files open. I can't see where my server is running, my Electron server. Okay, here it is. So why is there nothing in the UI? Let's just see if cursor can crack this one. Okay, the UI is empty, and there's an error in the JavaScript console. Never made a big app. Are you working on an app right now? You properly set up communication between the render and the main process. Okay, I feel like that was already done, but it looks like it wants to route this through the window. Okay, and then in preload, I assume in preload this is going to um, attach these to the window so I can call it from render. Okay, and like namespaces it to Electron. That's interesting. Again, it's been a couple of years since I've done Electron, so. And let's hope that, okay, we're back. All right. Can you specify the connection details for the Shakespeare database we just imported? That was in a separate chat context, so hopefully it has that context in this one. Okay, which wasn't mentioned earlier. Okay, it does not. So, but it's okay. There's no data, there's no password on this. There's the username is just going to be Postgres since it's on my local host. But let's try this connection out, these connection details out in our UI. So we hit new connection. We'll call it Shakespeare. Postgres on localhost. Port is going to be 5432. Database name Shakespeare. And Postgres is the user, no password. Oh, that's interesting. So it has a default there, but it still requires me to input it, which is annoying. No password. Okay, I think the default password is just Postgres on Postgres. Role Postgres does not exist. Let's see if the no, it doesn't put anything in the. All right, let's check what the default Postgres password is. I always do this. I open Chrome up to ask a question, and then I realize that I can just ask cursor. Let's see, default, Postgres. Yeah, okay. We need to make the password uh, non-required. It won't let me connect without it, but before we do that, it's really annoying that I have to click new connection and type all that back in. So we should make, is AutoQuery the app you're building? Yeah, this is like sorry, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, and uh, you probably haven't like rewound to see that. But yeah, AutoQuery, that's just like a name I came up with. I don't know if that's what I'll go with, but basically the description of the app is it lets you connect to a database. For now, it's just SQL-based database like MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, and you can connect to a running database, and then you can write queries in natural language against it. So you could say like, show me all of my users who live in Australia, something like that, and creating an account in the last 10 days. And you hit enter. Now, right now, we just have stuff hard coded, but yeah, you would like hit send, and then it would generate a query for you. Again, this is obviously not the query for that, but this is again hard coded. And then it'll also allow you to like edit it here, kind of like you could do in a your typical like database client. So um, it's part like research, if you want to like explore your data, but also like for people like me, like I'm not a strong like SQL developer. I'm mostly on the front end, so kind of helpful to like download a sample database like the Shakespeare one and say like, all right, if I wanted to ask for this type of data and like to be able to interact with it in real time, I think would be super helpful. So that's the goal. And yeah, today we are just working on getting this connecting to my database. So I was about to have something here where I can click on this and um, it'll like refill this with this connection context or the connection details here, and then so I can retry it. So um, let's tell cursor. Okay, when the connection, all right, I should be able to click on the connection and the connections component and open the connection modal with the details pre-filled. And then once we have that, we're gonna make it so that password is not required. We should also, this like has a placeholder text of localhost and then port 5432. If you have Postgres selected, then we should have this port. You shouldn't have to fill this in. We should just allow you to use the placeholder. Okay, what do we got? Okay, so this is just going to pass the form data up to our connection modal. And yeah, it's going to switch on if it's an edit mode versus a new connection. And then connection will have to handle accepting those details as props. Let's try this out. Oh, it reset that. Okay, whatever. So let's do Shakespeare. We lost our state. Before we do that, let's have it where it will use the placeholder values here instead of needing to specify them. So we need to make host, port, and password optional. Let's make host, port, and password optional. If host is not specified, use localhost. If port is not specified, use the default port for the selected database. If password, okay, and password should be nullable, I guess, since the default password for Postgres is empty. But always set passwords. Dope. I don't really love this. Leave empty to use localhost. Like that's what the placeholder's for. We don't need that. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, let's just get rid of this. We don't need that. Like this will take that. Required if it's SQLite. I guess SQLite. Oh yeah, because SQLite runs in the browser. So um, we'll accept that. Reject that. Accept that. Accept that. Reject. Reject. Accept. Okay, cool. And what else is there? Gotcha. Okay. Let's try this again. And we've got Shakespeare. Localhost 542.32, and then Postgres. Connect. Role Postgres does not exist. So it's trying to connect. So it is sending the connection config through to the main process, but it's saying role Postgres does not exist. Let's see. Cursor says it looks like the config is getting sent to the main process, but there's an error connecting. The error shown in the UI says, that was not right. Role Postgres does not exist. Cancel. Sorry, that's the error. Let's add an option to try connecting with your system username instead of Postgres. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work, but we can try it. Kind of like this, it's doing some error handling that we'll probably want anyway. Try with your system username. Our local database try without a password. Possible solutions. I still don't love this though. We shouldn't have to connect with the system username. So I'm going to reject that. I don't think this is our issue. Should our app running on port 3000 be able, should our Electron app running be able to connect to Postgres on 5432? I don't see why not. I'm just curious if there's any sort of like issue connecting across ports locally. Should our Electron app? Yeah. Yeah, right. So it's using Node, so it should be able to, the main process uses Node, so it should be able to connect. Um, indicates an authentication issue, not a port conflict. This means Postgres doesn't have a username Postgres in your system. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. I can. Can I make GTA 5? GTA 5's already out, bro. Anyone can give me a brief recap. Yeah, we're building a, let me pull it up. It's a database client, so it'll allow you to connect to different SQL-powered databases, and you can use a built-in LLM to chat with chat within like AI LLM to create queries based on natural language prompts. So you can do something like I was showing this earlier. So I said like, show me all of my users who live in Australia, create an account in the last 10 days. Right now, everything is hard coded. Literally today, we've just now gotten like the application shell up and running. And this is all just hard coded. But when you type it in here, it'll um, give you the query, it'll fill it in here. You can kind of think of it as like part database browser, but also part like education tool if you want to learn, like based on um, like your natural language, how you would like ask to query a database, like it'll kind of teach you to how to write SQL. Potentially other database technologies like Mongo or things like that. So, and right now we are working on connecting to the database. So we have this like connection modal, and we're trying to get this wired up to actually connect. Let's try this again. We actually have it where we can pre-fill that Postgres. You know what you can do? Let me show this to Cursor. It can help us out. Are there any issues with how I've entered these connection details? GTA 6, though, I think that's what you're referring to. It's, I think they said it was going to be 2026 now, if you saw the last trailer. But it looks pretty fire. GTA 6 Florida, man. Issue appears to be the standard Postgres admin. Roles and change user. All right, let's just try this with my username. Update. I'm gonna refresh this and Shakespeare, localhost, Shakespeare. And if you missed it earlier, the Shakespeare is referring to a sample database that I downloaded. Oh, look, we're connected. Nice. Okay, cool. So we're connected now, which is cool. I'll probably end the stream pretty soon, but I think I want to try one more thing. This is kind of a stretch for today, but I think it'd be cool if we could just like test out running a query against it. So um, we have this component called SQL Editor, and it allows us to write a query, or like the LLM will fill it in for us. So since we're connected here, it should be pretty straightforward to get this up and running. So all we'll do is let's have it execute the query, and then we'll have it console log the results just as JSON in the console. So let's get that going. Okay, using that username was successful. I like to reward Cursor when it helps me out. So I feel like it's good to close the loop and let it know that a suggestion it made was successful. So okay, let's wire up the SQL editor to our database so that when we press run, it will run the query and print the result to the console as a JavaScript object. And then in the next stream, we'll build out the actual UI that will show the result of your query. So I've done this in around an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but I've got a basic UI and connection to the database, and I think fairly soon we'll have it actually executing queries. I think before, just trying to gauge like how much faster I am using Cursor. This probably would have taken me at least 2 days. Let's not say it in days. So like if this took me 2 hours, this probably would take me like 6 to 7 hours without any kind of AI support. All right, so let's give this a quick review. So it's bringing in the service, which lets the render process connect to main. Some React and recoil state, including the selected connection ID. Okay, yeah, because we've got we can switch between connections, so this is just like the selected ID. And then an execute query function. Database connection selected, so it looks pretty good. Is execute. So setting some like loading state here. This executes query. Query results print here. Okay, then some little status on whether you're executing the query. It should show like a progress or something. Yeah, right here. Cool, and then error handling. Okay, this looks good. Let's go to the next file. This is our recoil atom that'll show, or let us know which connection ID is our selected ID, selected connection. And then the recoil, let's see, selected connection ID state. Yeah, this is just like showing that this certain connection is selected. Okay. What do we got here? That looks empty. Okay. I don't remember what my tables were called in this database. So let's see. Here's one. Okay, so there's a table called, let's just copy this query. Select all from Shakespeare dot chapter limit 10. Try this in our app. Okay, we reset our connection. So we're going to want to add like some sort of storage on connections, like local storage or something, file storage, because this is super annoying dev process to have to like recreate this every time the app updates. So Shakespeare connect. Oh, our run button got stacked. That's fun. All right. Error invoking remote method execute query error and object could not be cloned. That's going to go straight to cursor. But that was some good error handling there. Okay, when I run this query, I see this error. And let's paste the query. I don't think it has anything to do with the query, but just in case. Oh, okay. So Electron serializes messages that get sent from the renderer to the main process. So we just need to find some way to serialize the message before it gets sent over. Sure the results are properly serialized. Seems to be struggling on this one. Okay. Okay, it seemed like there were syntax issues, and let's review this real quick. So this is our database handler in the main process. So it seems like it's doing some like deserializing if it's Postgres, and then seemingly with MySQL, it just fires the query off. So we'll have to see if this works. All right, let's try it again. Luckily, we didn't lose our connection, but I see the same issue, so let's just refresh. Go back to our query. I'm going to store this query just in my notes so I don't have to keep copying it. Same thing. I'm wondering if I need to restart the main process. I don't know if I have to restart main when I make changes to it with Electron. potentially. SP. We're just shortening this so I can type less. Okay, connected, run, boom, it worked. Okay, let's recap. So in this episode, we got database connection working. So you click new connection, you type in your database, connection details, you hit connect, and it adds the connection here. If you need to edit it, or if there's an error, you can click into here and edit the details. UI's not great now. I don't think that's really how we'd want it to work long term, but right now we're just trying to get something basic working. And just now we got this working where you can put an actual query in here, hit run, and then print the results to the console. So here are the first 10 chapters from this Shakespeare.chapter query. It's kind of exciting. I've been doing this for 10 years, and anytime you get something working like that, it's always fun. So, gonna stop the stream here and pick up tomorrow. Thanks for watching.